David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. Today I have for you a pen in Montblanc's Muse series. That series contains pens inspired by film icons such as Grace Kelly, Ingrid Bergman, Marlene Dietrich, and Greta Garbo. But the pen we will be looking at today is inspired by a different movie and cultural icon, Marilyn Monroe. What I'm going to do today is go over the parts and features of the Montblanc Marilyn Monroe, talk about what I care for and what I don't care for. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. Thanks go out to Yost from Applebaum for the loan of this pen for review. On a side note, I recently recorded a video for Applebaum's favorite pen series. If you'd care to see me discuss 3 of my favorite pens, you can check that out on the Applebaum YouTube channel. I'll put a link to it in the notes below as well. While there are many pens I could have included on that list of 3 favorites, I decided to include 3 pens which hold a lot of meaning for me, and ones that had some stories behind them that I hadn't shared before on my channel. So, if you're interested, check it out. There are videos on the Applebaum channel from other pen personalities as well. The Marilyn Monroe arrives in this white box. On the front is the facsimile of her signature. This is a special edition, so it is not a limited edition. Inside, there is a customized manual. Montblanc always does a really great job on the manuals for their special and limited editions like this. Beside the standard use and care info, they include some really nice pictures and text explaining what went into the making of the pen and an overview of the career of Marilyn Monroe and what made her such an icon. Then we have this white box, reminiscent of one that would contain a really nice piece of jewelry, like a pearl necklace. And inside, we have the pen. This is the Montblanc Marilyn Monroe. There are 2 versions of this pen. There is a red version inspired by her trademark ruby red lipstick, and this white model, which is an homage to the iconic billowing white dress she wore in the film The 7-Year Itch. The cap and barrel are precious resin, and all of the trim on this model is gold coated. For this white version, Montblanc describes this as red gold. Basically, it's what I would describe as rose gold. The trim on the red version of this pen is a bit lighter and is described as champagne gold. The overall design was inspired by the Ferragamo high-heeled shoes Monroe often wore. A couple of years ago, there was an auction which included a number of Monroe's Ferragamo's heels, and pairs of shoes sold for as much as $34,000. Let's start by taking a look at the cap. To begin with, the slanted cap top is decorated with the Montblanc emblem. The serial number for this pen can actually be found on the side of the clip at the very beginning. The clip curves downward slightly and is adorned with a pearl. Monroe was known to wear a prominent pearl necklace given to her by one of her husbands, the baseball player Joe DiMaggio. Now, this is an actual pearl. There's a little piece of metal on the underside of the pearl, so when you operate the clip, you aren't repeatedly rubbing material against it. Natural pearls are relatively soft, so you would want to be careful not to hit this against any hard surfaces. If it ever needs cleaning, you don't want to use any aggressive cleaning agents or anything like that. Just rubbing it with a damp cloth will suffice. Something I did notice, however, was there was like a tiny fiber stuck in the glue under the pearl. While I kind of broke it off with some tweezers, and it was really only noticeable under a loop, when it comes to Montblanc, I expect perfection. And when it comes to their craftsmanship and construction. So seeing something like a fiber stuck in the glue was a bit odd, and I thought out of the ordinary for Montblanc. The cap angles down until it reaches this gold-red cap band, engraved with Montblanc twice. Now, I would have liked to have seen the band centered a little bit better, with one of the Montblancs facing you as you are looking directly at the pen. I've seen a number of pictures online of this pen, and the orientation of each band I saw differs slightly, so it would have been nice to have some visual alignment. The barrel continues to angle down, just like the heel of a stiletto, and on the end we have this cone of this pen, which is engraved with diamond shapes, which is a reference to the Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend song that she sung in the movie Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Alongside the diamonds is Monroe's signature. I will say that the engraving on this pen is high quality. It is not standard engraving. The cap twists off And you see here that the cap actually adds a considerable amount of length to this pen. And what we have here is a 14 karat gold red gold coated nib. The nib is a bit on the small side. It does have a heart-shaped breather hole and is engraved with the face of Marilyn Monroe. The nib is available at extra fine, fine, medium, broad, double broad, oblique medium, as well as oblique broad. And then here's a look at the plastic feed. Matching the size of the nib, the section is a bit on the small side, a bit on the thin side. It begins with a resin flare and then angles up slightly until you reach the threads. Then there is a rather steep step up to the barrel. I do find this section to be a bit slick. For me, I think that the forced angle isn't helping matters for me. What I mean by that is that if you have smaller hands, maybe this won't be an issue, but this steep step up kind of forces you to have a more compact grip where my fingers are at a little bit more of an angle, rather than a grip that uses a little bit more real estate on the section. The pen is plenty long enough to use unposted. The cap posts somewhat. I wouldn't say that it's too secure, but this large, heavy cap significantly backweights this pen and throws off the balance and doesn't necessarily look that great posted, so I really wouldn't recommend it. This is a cartridge converter pen. I currently have a cartridge in here, but while none of the standard international converters I possess will fit this pen, I've been told that Applebaum has converters which will work with this pen that are available upon request. The Montblanc Marilyn Monroe is available on the Applebaum site for a little over $850. When it comes to the value for this pen, like the James Dean model I reviewed a few weeks back, a lot of that value will come from how you feel about the person depicted by this pen. While this pen doesn't match up well with a lot of my personal tastes, I don't feel that I'm necessarily the target market for this pen. But if you're a huge fan of Marilyn Monroe, then I feel that the value is here. The pen performs very well, as we'll see in the writing sample, and I think that it has a unique style that I can appreciate as well. Thanks again go out to Applebaum for the loan of this pen. Now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample. Here we go with some size comparisons for the Montblanc Marilyn Monroe. Here it is with a Montblanc 149, a Pilot 823, and then also a Pelican M1000. Now, you'll see that for the most part, these pens are pretty equal in size while they are all capped. Since there was a significant difference between this pen capped and uncapped, I thought I'd actually do a comparison uncapped as well, so you can see what the Marilyn Monroe looks like compared to the 149 and the Pilot 823. And then the Pelican M1000. And so you can see, even though they were the same size capped, the Marilyn Monroe is the smallest of the bunch when it comes to being uncapped. So here we go with the writing sample for the Montblanc Marilyn Monroe. This is a fine 14 karat gold nib. And the ink that I'm using today is Montblanc Royal Blue. While I'm using a cartridge, this is what the ink looks like, and this is what it looks like in comparison to some St. Dupont Royal Blue, as well as Faber-Castell Royal Blue. And you can see in the comparisons, the Montblanc's a little bit more on the purplish side compared to the other two. This is the 60 milliliter bottle that it comes in. It comes in other bottles as well, but this is a 60 milliliter bottle. And this bottle is nicknamed the shoe since it is shaped like a shoe. I thought it was appropriate since this Marilyn Monroe pen was designed, or the design was inspired by a shoe as well. So let's see what's going on with the rest of the writing sample. I find this fine 14 karat gold nib to be very pleasant. You can get a little bit of line variation out of here in regard to some ink flow. The ink flow on here is decent. In regard to reverse writing, I find this to be very scratchy, so I wouldn't recommend it at all. And then in regard to some fast writing, the feed has no problem in keeping up whatsoever. So here we have the Montblanc Marilyn Monroe. Like I said, that if you're a fan of Marilyn Monroe, then I think that this is a pen that would be one that you would want to consider. It does write well, it's well built, and it has a very interesting and unique design as well. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.